Hey there, everybody. I hope your weekend was great. Before we roll into another work week, and as I get close to the last couple of weeks of my semester, I have a lot of finals coming up. I did want to shoot a video and talk a little bit about more retro stuff rather than the sales number stuff, which some people like and some others don't. Um, I did run into a friend of mine this weekend when I was singing karaoke down in Connecticut. Haven't seen him since before I had moved to Arizona back in 2009, so it's been a few years. Now he knows I'm a big retro guy, and when he came in and saw that I was there, he brought a big bag of goodies, and there was some really neat stuff in there that I got. The first thing is this right here. This, of course, is the Game Genie. I never owned one of these until now. When I was playing NES games, both when I had the system originally in 90 and 91 and 92, and then after that, I never really looked after or sought after something like this. But it's really neat to have. And to go along with it, he also had the Game Genie code book, so I don't have to print out oodles and oodles and oodles of pages with codes on them. I have most of them right here, and that's really neat. In addition to the Game Genie, I also got some Sega Genesis games from him, and I wanted to show a couple of these to you. The first one is James Buster Douglas Boxing. Now, I have never played this one. I've played Evander Holyfield Real Deal Boxing, and I played Greatest Heavyweights. So I played the two later ones, but I didn't play this. And this, by looking at the screens on the back, and I know that we've got a little bit of light interference, but this looks more like an arcade game than a straight-up boxing sim with high scores and the whole 9 yards. So I'm looking forward to giving this a whirl and seeing how it plays. In addition, I also got Tony La Russa Baseball, which some of you may know, some of you may not know. I've never played this one. For Genesis baseball games, aside from World Series baseball and the RBI games, which, by the way, really aren't that good. I haven't played a lot of baseball on the Genesis, so it'll be interesting to see how good this is. Looking at the screens in the back, it certainly looks neat. Simulate 162 game season, over 500 major leaguers with 1992 stats. So, geez, this game is 20 years old. Create your own all-star team, and there is even an 8 meg battery backup. So, back in 92, this was all the rage. 2012, 8 meg probably doesn't impress anybody, but there it is. And then the last one that I wanted to show you guys, although I have this already, this is NHLPA hockey, and I gotta get it to the camera. Wow, this is really bad, but you can see the limited edition EASN sticker, number 18567. The story of EASN, the Electronic Arts Sports Network, is actually kind of funny because they had a falling out with ESPN over brand likenesses and stuff, and EA wound up changing that to EA Sports, and of course now EA Sports and ESPN are all buddy-buddy, so it's kind of funny how that turned out. This copy of NHLPA Hockey 93 is actually a double for me, but I thought it was neat to see the little gold sticker on there, and I will be holding on to this box for sure. I also got some other games from him, like Sonic and Sonic 3, Desert Strike, which I haven't played. This will be the first time that I've actually played that game. And a couple of other doubles that I had, like PGA Tour Golf 2 and such. So it's kind of neat that he gave me those Genesis games because I had been thinking recently about the Super Nintendo versus the Sega Genesis, and especially with Tony La Russa Baseball being 20 years old now. It's kind of funny to look back at those. I had the Super Nintendo first. I got the Super Nintendo at launch back in 91. I was never a Sega guy before that. I was pretty much a Nintendo guy because Nintendo was all the rage at the time. So I played NES and Super Nintendo for about a year, and then I went to a used video game store in Auburn, Mass., which is just outside of Worcester, and he had a Sega Genesis running, and it was Joe Montana 93, and the thing that blew me away about that was sports talk commentary, and I've always been a fan of broadcasting ever since high school, so hearing play-by-play actually being called during a game back then was mind-blowing to me, and after playing the game a little bit, I said, all right, I have to have it. How much is this? I bought the Genesis, I bought that. And pretty much from that point on, the Genesis was my sports game machine, and my Super Nintendo was my everything else machine. Played a lot of hockey on the Genesis, as a lot of other people have. NHL PA 93, NHL 94, and NHL 96 are probably the three that stand out to me the most, but I do have now all of them up to 97. I don't have NHL 97 yet, but I have NHL hockey, NHL PA 93, and then 94, 95, and 96. So I have a lot of hockey that I can play whenever I feel like turning the Genesis on and just deciding what teams that I want to play as, or whether I want blood on the ice or anything like that. Hockey games and then golf games were a big thing for me during my original time with the Genesis in the early 90s. The PGA Tour golf games were pretty much it. I didn't play Arnold Palmer's tournament golf until I picked it up earlier this year. But the PGA Tour games, I played a lot of. I was living with my grandmother at the time, and she was getting into golf, so I would watch with her. And of course, whenever I see a sport on TV after that sporting event is over, I want to try and emulate that. So I would go upstairs and I would turn the Genesis on, and I would pick a golfer, whether it's Fuzzy Zeller or whoever it was, and I would try and emulate what I saw on TV. And the funny thing about the PGA Tour games was that I actually had a calculator with me. And those of you who have played the PGA Tour games know that it's very math driven. Depending on how far away from the cup you are or how far away from the green you are, you can actually kind of measure out how hard you need to hit your shot. So if you've got a 2-iron that goes 200 yards and you're 150 yards from the cup, you know that you have to adjust your power, and the calculator gave me the best chance to do that. And then of course I had to use my timing in order to get it right. So I was kind of a goof about it. Took maybe a little too seriously, but it was a good time and really started my interest in golf games. And from there, I got into the Tiger Woods game, or the PGA Tour games on the PlayStation, and then the Tiger Woods games, the Hot Shots games, and then Lynx 2004 on the Xbox was another big one for me as well. So the Genesis is, now that I have it back, is really nice. I think that aside from the games that Paul gave me this weekend, I think the only non-traditional sports game or non-traditional game that I had was Road Rash 2 and Virtual Racing, which I had just because I got it for an absolute steal. And I rarely play it, especially since I have Virtual Racing on the Sega Classics collection for the PS2, which runs a lot better. Seeing it in 60 frames a second is pretty neat. But yeah, it's nice to have those games. I'm hoping to put them through their paces after my semester ends, which is going to be on the 20th of December. I'll finally be done with school for the semester and have a couple of weeks off to get some game time in and enjoy the holidays with family and friends, which will be nice. I have about 60 seconds or so left. I do want to thank you guys who have been watching the videos so far. I know that the sales videos, the sales data videos probably aren't as interesting to some as they are to others, but that's one of my passions, and I do like to talk about that. And it sometimes is a lot easier for me to sit in front of the camera here and talk about them with the numbers in front of my eyes than it is for me to write out 2,000 words like I did for Popzara this weekend. So that was kind of nice. I'm hoping to do another video or two within the next week or two and stay probably retro focused during that time. And then if I'm lucky enough to get some really cool stuff for Christmas, I can share that with you then. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter, which is the little @ Peter Skerritt. That's PeterSkerritt. I almost always follow back, so feel free to check me out there. Also, I'm on Facebook too if you want to look me up there. And there's something for me on Google Plus there too if you want. Or you can just subscribe to the channel if you think that it's really neat. I hope you guys have a great week. Please feel free to drop comments. Let me know what it is that you guys want to see or what stuff that you guys want me to cover. And hopefully I'll be able to do it when things wind down with school. Have a great one, you guys, and we'll talk soon.